Gold just realized its biggest yearly gain since 2010, and Wall Street says it's going even higher. Heading into 2025, JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs are both forecasting $3,000 an ounce gold and paltry returns for stocks. Call the proud Americans of the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Mention the Still Report, and you'll always get best-in-class service from Patriots protecting patriots. Call 888-753-1647 for a free investor guide today. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold IRA dealer 7 years in a row. Call 888-753-1647. Good afternoon. I'm still reporting on the Trump effect. Tomorrow, President Trump will take to the air for the first time during this presidency, heading for western North Carolina to visit the hurricane-ravaged mountains to the west of Asheville, North Carolina. Then Trump will return to Air Force One and head out to Los Angeles to visit the firebug-ravaged areas just to the north. Today, Trump told California's radical leftist governor, who is desperate to position himself for a presidential run once Trump leaves office 4 years from now, that he needs to open the water valves to bring in fresh water from the mountain runoffs to the northeast so that fire hydrants would never again run dry. However, California Congressman Tom McClintock says that the root of the problem is the dominant environmental leftists who have done everything possible to increase the risks of out-of-control fires ravaging the state.
So President Trump, as we know, will visit California tomorrow. Earlier this week, he offered his solution to ending these fires. Take a listen to this.
Los Angeles has massive amounts of water available to it. All they have to do is turn the valve. And that's the valve coming back from and down from the Pacific Northwest, where millions of gallons of water a week and a day, even in many cases, pours into California, goes all through California down to Los Angeles, and they turned it off. It's off now. The valve goes, it turns toward the Pacific Ocean, and all that water goes pouring into the Pacific Ocean. So we're demanding that they turn the valve back toward Los Angeles right now. It's not even believable that they haven't done it.
All right, so joining us now for more, California Congressman Tom McClintock. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us this morning. So you heard what the president had to say. What do you make of your governor's response to these fires?
Well, it's not, the president's right. We have a serious water problem of our own making. I'm not sure that was a big factor in these fires, though. The big factor in these fires were all the environmental policies that the left has imposed on California that made it impossible for us to maintain the land so that they don't burn as intensely. You know, before the modern era, we'd lose about 4.5 million acres a year to catastrophic fire. But then in the 20th century, we established land management agencies. They basically did a little gardening. We auctioned off excess timber to logging companies that paid us to remove the excess. We leased public lands to cattle and sheep ranchers to suppress brush growth through grazing. We did controlled burns to remove undergrowth. We cut fire breaks to contain fires. We used herbicides to keep brush from residential areas. We put out fires before they could explode out of control. And those fire losses in California dropped from an annual 4.5 million acres a year down to just 250,000. But the problem is the environmental laws that have made permitting for these practices endlessly time-consuming and ultimately cost-prohibitive. So we stopped doing these things because of environmental leftists like Gavin Newsom. And in 2020, our fire losses were back up to 4.5 million acres. That's not a new normal. That is the old normal coming back. That's the way nature gardens.
Yeah, Congressman, you mentioned your state's governor, and obviously there's been a lot of tension between the president and Governor Newsom. Do you expect the governor to join the president tomorrow when he comes out there to see the damage for himself and do anything about this, working with Trump to get the problem solved?
Well, I'm sure Gavin Newsom's going to be there. You can't keep him away from a camera if you get in the way. But the fundamental problem is the environmental laws that the left has imposed, not only in California, but also across the rest of the country in terms of federal lands.
Do you see California changing some of these environmental laws at all?
Well, that's going to require a change in the leadership of California, and that depends upon the voters. You know, if you look at the census data, the vast majority of this exodus from California is going to places like Nevada and Arizona. Now, I cannot think of a single act of God that could do so much damage to California as to turn it into a less desirable place for people to live and work and raise their families than the middle of the Nevada nuclear test range. But acts of government can do that much damage, and they have. So instead of the days gone by where people flocked to California, now people are fleeing from California because of these laws. And you see that wherever the socialists take control over a period of years, they destroy the freedom that produces the prosperity and the quality of life that people enjoy.
Yeah, last night in an interview, Congressman, the president suggested that he might condition federal aid to California on changing its laws in order to better deal with future disasters. Would you support something like that?
Well, absolutely. First, no federal aid should pass through the hands of Gavin Newsom or Karen Bass or their agencies. They've proven themselves to be completely incompetent in managing public lands and completely incapable of making good decisions. So I think the aid needs to be administered through federal agencies directly to the victims. And second, the policies that produced this catastrophe have got to be changed. We've got to repeal these environmental laws that have made it impossible for land managers to remove excess vegetation before it burns. There's an old saying, you can't fill a broken bucket by pouring more water in it.
However, evidence is mounting that these fires may have been deliberately set. Satellite video shows that the first three fires all were ignited within minutes of each other, but tens of miles apart. That, combined with the fact that most insurance companies withdrew their coverage from the burned areas just months before the fires started, has raised suspicions of an overall plan to run out residents who lost everything so that wealthy property developers could buy up properties for pennies on the dollar in order to, as the governor has said, remake Los Angeles 2.0. This is similar to the results after the Maui, Hawaii fires some 18 months ago. Could it be that this is the new super developer property acquisition strategy? Hire leftist thugs to burn down one city, then move in to buy up the property for pennies on the dollar, then rebuild. In the Brandon era, nothing would surprise. Let's hope Trump can get to the bottom of this and somehow bring justice, lest this becomes the new Remake America plan of deep state and the depopulation crowd. I'm still reporting from just outside the citadel of world freedom. Good day.